What's up, guys? Welcome to Youth Group Live. We are super pumped that you are here. Everyone turn your devices down because we're gonna do it right this time. Everything's gonna work perfectly according to plan. We're gonna have no problems. I know that the last few weeks we've had a few hiccups.
We're not gonna have any anxiety about this.
But tonight, everything is gonna be perfect. It's gonna be flawless. This flickering TV behind us is supposed to happen.
Yes.
It does that the whole time.
Effect.
It's a cool feature. Makes you kind of guess what's happening in between the flickers. You know, you got to use your imagination a little bit. We've got a great night.
Or not too much.
We've got a great night planned for us. We are going to we're going to play some games. We're going to give away some stuff to someone who comments on this video. So make sure you're commenting so you can be entered into that prize. We're going to eat some hot dogs. Then we're going to talk about anxiety. So we've got a full night in front of us. But first, let's play a game. I've prepared for you guys a game that is a lot like Family Feud.
Okay.
But the difference is I've never seen Family Feud before.
So you're just winging it here.
So I don't know how the points work, but I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna give you a something that you're having to guess answers for, and you have to buzz in. The first one to buzz in gets to choose if they want to play or if they want the other person to play. I think I know these rules fairly enough. I don't know how the points work. So here's how they're gonna work for me. If you choose to play, for every correct one you get, I'm gonna give you 100 points.
Oh, I love
Good.
it.
All right.
I like
If
100
you
points.
get your 3 fails, and it goes on to the next person.
So there's only one answer?
No, there is like 6 answers
okay. All
for
right.
each one. If you get all 6, then you get an additional 500 points.
Oh, all right.
If you don't get all 6 and it passes on to the other person, and they get it right, they only need to get 1. Then they're gonna get 500 points for doing that. All right. So
Okay.
there's my point system. You can make fun of it if you want, but that's what we're doing. So let's play Survey Says Easter Edition. All right, are we ready to go? All right, Nate in the back, cool. Let's do that first one, that first question, which is this.
Can we
Name
leave the screen?
something, the first one to buzz in, and name something that people do to celebrate Easter. Okay?
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Survey says.
Boom!
All right, there we go. Make sure we turn that sound off because that sounds annoying. All right, Easter egg hunt. Do you want to play or do you want Norm to play? Do you think you can get the other 4 options here before you get 3 strikes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
go.
I think I can.
Let's go.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said he's gonna play. I'm gonna
Name
give you.
something people do to celebrate Easter. Can I get help from the audience?
What I do want is I want you guys to be putting the answers in so that if they fail, we will know who is really smarter. Which I think we know what the answer is. It's probably you guys.
Yeah, because there's
but
like
go ahead and
15
You have
brains
such
in
little
Here's the
there.
thing.
faith in
One.
us.
You guys aren't allowed to look at those comments that are
Okay.
coming in on the screen. No suggestions coming in, but we do want to see. Keep those suggestions coming
So
in.
my next one was, is it alright if it's not like the exact wording?
Yes.
Like have a meal with a family.
It's up to our tech guru Nate to tell you if you got it right or wrong.
Eat a meal with your family as a family. And I can't tell.
With your
And-
family as a
This,
family?
woohoo!
Okay,
I'm
that
gonna take
one's
that as
right.
a yes. This
Looks like
special
we're-
effect on the TV is amazing.
Yep. It's coming back. Don't worry about that. It'll be back here in a second. But we know by the sound that it was there, so go ahead and get another guess.
All right. I got eating with family. Got egg hunt. We got go to church.
Go to church. Survey says. Yes.
But we got a thumbs
All
up
right.
from the back.
You're up
so-
to 300 points.
Two
There
more.
are
Ooh,
2
it's
more.
right there.
Oh, okay. So in that top right preview. Yep. All right, 2 more.
All right. So go to church. Easter egg hunt. Family dinner. Celebrate. Oh man, I thought I got this. These are tough.
These are tough.
You do have 3 options to get it wrong, and I don't want to take the entire time.
I know.
Is that Family Feud music?
No, that's
I'm gonna need an
Jeopardy.
answer in
Jeopardy?
3 seconds.
Sing songs.
Sing song. The survey says. Nah.
All right.
All right. So that's you got 2 more wrong answers.
You probably have answers, and I already.
I've got like 5 in my head right now.
Of course, because you're not under the pressure.
Yeah.
Eat breakfast.
Eat breakfast. Survey says.
Now I know what the Family Feud answers on TV are. So down.
Okay. All right, you've got one more chance to get it wrong. I'm gonna need an answer. We got a couple more rounds of this.
Oh, great.
That's kind of why I was waiting to buzz in, because I wanted to see Luke.
Of course. What do we do on Easter? That's what we do. That's all we do is we go to church, we eat, and we hunt for eggs.
Is that all you do?
Pray.
Survey says. All right, Norm, you've got
What is
one.
it? What's the thing that
Norm,
I'm
you've
completely
got one
blanking
guess.
on?
One
Try
guess
and
to get
steal
500
it?
points.
Yes.
I think it's different than hunting Easter eggs. I think you color Easter eggs.
Coloring
of
Easter
course!
eggs.
Yeah.
You got
Did
it.
that at Easter.
So that's-
Come on.
that's
See, if
5.
I had looked at the comments, that would have been an answer right there.
500
Oh, is it Hall-
Blame the bread
for you,
lord.
and the last one was eat chocolate.
Oh.
And that was my next answer.
Oh,
Actually. Okay.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, too bad you
You'll
only
never
got
know.
500. All right. Let's skip ahead, Nate. I don't want to do the next one. What I do want to do is go to. I want to say the last one, the very last one that we've got on there. So, your question is, and first one to buzz in gets your chance to answer. Name something people buy at Easter. Norm.
Candy.
Candy, survey says.
Chocolate. Yeah.
Chocolate or candy. Very good. That's 100 points. Would you like to continue
I'm going to
playing?
pass to Luke.
Pass it to Luke. All right, sounds good.
Come on, Luke.
Luke?
What do we buy at Easter?
Yes.
Clothes, like Easter
Clothes.
Like
Survey says?
Yeah.
Yes, I think. Yes.
Can I pass it back to Norm?
You cannot.
We buy at Easter presents. Is that different than
Presents. Survey says? No.
What? This is a whole what's the Easter egg hunt? Isn't that presents, like gifts, eggs, like Easter egg stuff?
It's the survey.
Oh. Well, then I'll go
with.
with Easter, like the Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. Survey says
All right.
yes.
Woo-hoo.
Okay.
One left.
Okay, plastic eggs. Yeah, perfect. What about no? I'm gonna say let's say chickens. Don't take that as an answer.
Chickens.
No. Okay, something buy at Easter, chocolate candy. I mean, you go out to eat. Does that count as like buying dinner?
Food. Survey says no. You've got one more option to get a wrong answer.
Pass it to Norm.
Nope, that doesn't work like that. There's some interesting comments on here. Someone said a car.
I mean, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do that most Easters.
You get yourself a new car.
Get a
Okay.
new car, yeah, with
Yeah.
the bunny sitting on the top.
You're cheating. You're looking at the
I
comments.
know,
You're getting
none of them work
inspiration.
because one says masks.
I mean,
Yeah,
Tis-
Porsche
yeah.
is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need an answer, Luke.
So not food. I don't know what else. Easter. Do you know, Norm?
no, I'm kind of stumped on this
Yeah.
one.
Shoes.
Shoes. Survey says no. All right, Norm, you've got one chance to try and steal, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You're already in the lead, so
So I'm just gonna.
do
I
whatever
think.
you want.
I think people buy stocks
stop.
for Easter.
That's
Survey
right, yeah,
says?
that's been eight.
No, no
especially
one-
not right now.
So it looks
Okay.
like I get the points
that's
on
the best
that
time.
one.
I know it's a
so
good time. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
talk
add
to
my
guy.
name there. Preston gets 500.
What? Wait.
What
you're
was
playing?
what was the answer?
Oh, the answer is baskets.
Oh come on!
I mean, I feel like that's pretty
yeah.
obvious. What are you gonna hunt?
I
Those
mean,
plastic
only
eggs?
5 people out of the entire United States
We-
of America said baskets.
You know,
no, I
you know what
surveyed
we
out of
had
100.
growing up? Grocery bags. That's what my grocery bags.
And you drink purple drink for it.
Probably.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Should we do one more round?
As long as he loses.
All right, Nate. Let's do the fourth one.
This is an episode with a lot of pressure.
All right.
I
Here's
feel
your
like.
question. Name something you can do with eggs at Easter.
Color them.
Color them. Survey says yes.
I'm passing it on. I have no
All
idea.
right,
Except
Norm,
for,
you're up.
Eat them.
Yeah, that's the only other
Eat
idea I
them.
had. Just eat them.
Survey says
Yes.
yes.
All right.
Eat them, but it's not. the
Oh.
Hunt them or find them.
Yeah,
Hunt them. Survey says
Yeah.
yes.
What's that second one?
Devil them.
Devil them.
yeah. No.
No, not
Okay.
correct. Okay.
Throw them at houses. Is that an Easter thing?
That's not my answer. Decorate, eat, hunt. I'm gonna say toss them.
Throw them.
Game.
No, that's not right.
Okay.
You got one more guess.
Man, it's the number 2 answer too. I feel like I should. Do you know this one?
I feel like you should have it too.
I'm gonna say boil them.
No. Okay. Well, I mean,
He
survey
says nope.
Nope. I'm just gonna go ahead.
You'd
and
make a
say-
terrible Family Feud host. Like they get it wrong. Nope.
Absolutely not.
Going on.
You're the best host, the best game show host ever.
Luke, here's where the points stand right now. Right now, you have 600 points. Norm has.
Oh, he has 600?
Yes, you have 800, so
I have
you're in
800?
the lead.
I don't know
I
how
have
this works.
500. So that means if you get it correct, then you are gonna win. If
Oh.
you get it incorrect, then I get those points, so I win.
Okay, so I'm gonna play off of the survey.
Okay.
So if
That's a
you're
good
hunting
idea.
for them, you then hide them.
Oh man.
Survey says. No! All right, there
I
it
didn't
is.
hear no right away, so I figured it was gonna be right. It's gonna let the
All right.
survey tell you if it's right.
So Luke comes away with the win with 1,100 points.
but you get a bottle of
Congratulations.
hand sanitizer.
Yeah. Oh, actually, dang it! I was gonna bring $1 as a prize, but I forgot it. So I guess
We'll give you some hot dogs.
I'll just use it to.
Oh, 8, maybe a plate. of
Probably
hot
yeah,
dogs?
I'll
plate
give you
of
an
hot
entire plate of hot dogs
Yeah.
later.
I feel like
Sounds
it's not
good.
really a prize when
And-
everyone gets them, but you know, whatever.
And a second gift that I give to you for winning is you also get to watch me eat a whole plate of hot dogs.
And Norm, maybe?
No, you don't get to watch.
I probably
I'm
not
gonna
gonna eat a
I'm
whole
gonna put
plate.
a divider up so you can actually- you
Oh,
can
wait,
actually
first
see
off,
what's going on.
people keep saying 6 feet apart. Okay, my arm is 3 feet, 3 feet. This is 6 feet.
No.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't touch them.
Yep.
It's 6.
And I'm also 6
yeah,
feet.
6
apart,
feet
so-
apart.
Yeah.
Proven.
It's
It's proven.
makes
It's
sense.
it's science.
That's good. All right.
That's
If we
good.
sat in a circle with our feet in the middle, then we would have 6 feet in between all of us. And we are pretty much in a circle. So there are
Boom! 6 feet right
technically-
there.
Technically, there are 6 feet
They are 6
between
feet.
each of us. Yep.
Yes.
All right. Hey, you guys have been sending us some awesome videos and pictures for coping with quarantine segment that we've been doing. And there's some good ones that we've got here. So first of all, Luke, you sent us in one just yesterday, I think. And this was a pranking video of you pranking your wife. So go ahead and hit play on that.
She
I
had,
thought-
she had to approve the video before it got sent.
Yeah, okay, so
So,
you
I
recorded
shouldn't
it.
get in trouble.
Hopefully everything works.
Unless you change your mind.
Those flickers just add some suspense going on. So,
It's like a horror movie.
what is this a room in your house? Is this where
It's
you are right
this
now?
is like the right before the kitchen. I'm hiding like right where the basement stairs go.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't flicker during the good part. And she smacked you.
Spousal abuse, anyone?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Lane just commented. Wait, so we could have recorded videos to win something. Right now, there wasn't actually a prize for sending us in videos. However, we did talk about what we're gonna do is if you do send us a video from now on. If you send us a video into this coping with quarantine segment, or for anything else that we ask, you're gonna get an additional name opportunity to win the prize at the end of the night. Yeah, so we give away a prize every night at the end. Usually it's like an Amazon gift card or something. So if you send us a video, then you're gonna get an extra entry into that competition. So we're gonna keep moving along. One of the students that's in my group, her name is Dakota. She, first of all, we did an Easter egg hunt, digital Easter egg hunt last week, and she found more eggs than anybody else in my youth group. But she also showed us, she sent me a video of how she's coping with quarantine by doing some art projects. So let's see that video from Dakota.
I've been doing a lot of painting. So again, this awesome painting right here, and I also painted the bottom of my skateboard deck.
All right, so she painted. It says parents ain't always right.
YB.
If there's any parents watching,
YB.
Dakota said
YB?
not
Who's
me.
YB?
I don't know. Dakota, let me know who YB is because I'm not really sure.
Luke thinks it says Yeeby.
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 I'm assuming that's like a rapper, maybe. But then she also painted the bottom of her skateboard deck. And
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
I mean, that's just cool
and a
that
good
she
use
can
of your time.
skateboard.
It's creative. Yeah, it is. Teach me how to skateboard, Dakota.
Yeah, we should have a segment that could be part of our Chubby Olympics.
Oh yeah. We learned how to skateboard.
Skateboarding,
We're gonna have to
yeah.
buy 3 skateboards first.
I probably have one from the '80s when I was growing up with like the one pointed end and then the green one.
like a penny board or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, cool.
My wife said she never approved the video. I don't remember this.
That's not the way I remember it.
Look at the jive. I gotta go.
I'm siding with your wife on this one.
All right, Adriana sent us in a prank video. She sent this in actually before last week, but I wasn't able to get it in the show. So this is Adriana. What she did, I think, is put coffee in a Dr. Pepper can and gave it to her little brother, who at first went, "Oh yeah, that's delicious."
What is it?
Instant regret.
No, is he gonna go spit that out? I'm offended by that because coffee is a superior beverage, and I don't know why.
Coffee is the worst beverage.
What?
I'm not saying it's a worse beverage. I'm just saying whatever he drank that sounds like coffee and black cherry, whatever that was.
It's AHA, isn't
Aha.
Sounds
What?
Not a sponsor.
hashtag not a sponsor.
Hashtag not a sponsor. Sparkling water and cranberry or black coffee cherry.
It's black
cherry,
cherry and coffee flavored. I don't know. It looked interesting enough. It tastes okay. It's just kind of boring. It's not as exciting as I thought it would be.
It sounds disgusting.
Sounds, yeah.
All right. Thank you for sending that one in, Adriana. Luke, you also sent me in another one this week, and this was hand sanitizing.
I can't
tips.
get in trouble for this one.
You can't?
No.
Oh,
I
because your
don't-
wife's not
I
in
don't
it.
think so.
Okay.
Unless you use too much hand
all right.
sanitizer.
So
Use my quota
Luke
for
actually
that.
came up with a brilliant way. I
Your
think that we
ration.
should all be sanitizing ourselves when we go out in public. So check out this video from Luke.
All right, so I got this cool new idea when it comes to sanitary, and maybe you don't really want to carry around that hand sanitizer. You have to dig in your pocket and get it out. I got this hand sanitizer in his back pocket here. What do you do?
We're looking at your
Oh,
butt.
walking down.
It's
It's
my hip.
Bam! Gonna roll it. I'm walking down and someone sneezes in my face. Bam! Just throw it on. Gonna roll it. Yeah,
It's also a good
I'm
self-defense.
I don't know. Get anywhere and someone tries to touch me, whatever. Bam! Roll it. Get it out of here. It's good travel size hand sanitizer. Your safety and to survive the pandemic.
That's very good.
Nice.
Luke, I was inspired by that. I've got my hand sanitizer ready. If you even cross this line or think about sneezing, this is going all over you, right? Like that's gone Rona. You know, like you gotta get it out.
Gone Rona. That should be our tagline. We've been trying to
Bam,
figure
gone
out.
Rona.
Bam, gone Rona.
Oh, I did forget to.
Oh,
I
I
forgot
think
to
it's
turn
already
it
up in
on
the
this
six
morning.
packs aren't.
All right, let's start over. Hey, welcome to YouTube Live, where the beards are good, but the six packs are not as good.
You can tell that we have this down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
No audio or visual
Yeah.
issues either.
Nope. Yep. On
You're
tonight's
just
show, we're
blinking
gonna have.
really heavy when that TV stream.
Yeah, you guys need to stop
It's-
blinking.
Yeah, it's just your
for sure.
it's your phones and TVs and whatever else you're watching on. It's
Very good. All right, so we're gonna do a Chubby Olympics, which we started last week, and we said that if you comment and you get the right answer, whoever's gonna win, then you're gonna get a prize. We're gonna save that till the end of this video.
good.
Just in case we die.
because I feel like we're not gonna last too long after. We're getting signals from the back about our behaviors. We're gonna say that to later because we don't want to throw up in front of everybody who's watching this right now. So we're gonna go ahead and move along our conversation into what I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in. What I wanted to talk about is something that I think is maybe something that's been on your guys' minds, everybody's minds recently. I think we've seen a lot of it on the news. I think that we probably know somebody who at least is having a lot of issues with this. But what we talked about, or what I want to talk about, is anxiety, and not just anxiety, but how do we deal with it? What is anxiety? And also keeping with what we've been doing on this show is what does the Bible actually say? How can it speak into us about anxiety? So first of all, I want you guys to comment. Go ahead and comment. what is something that gives you anxiety? And as those comments are coming in, I want to ask you guys the same thing. What's something that gives you guys anxiety?
Tonight.
Just
Yeah, Norm and I were just talking about that. I think it's just the competition at the end. There's a lot.
I've already got some heartburn going on and some
Yeah.
other, digestive issues.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
My heart rate was up the whole drive here for some reason.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's kind of scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how people do this professionally.
Hot dog eating.
Hot dog
I know.
eating is-
Yeah.
I
It's a
don't know.
dangerous
The,
game.
now they have 12 minutes to do their hot dog
I have
thing.
no idea.
I don't know,
I
but
think
they
they
eat a
have
lot.
12 minutes, but the record is also like 180 hot dogs. So-
And I know the guy who like wins is like
Super tiny.
5 feet tall,
Yeah.
like this
Uh-huh.
big. You know.
Yeah, it's like a little. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know where it goes. Where the food goes. It must
all
come
the
out
way.
as it goes in.
I've always
I'll let
been
you use your
curious
imagination on how that works.
about like afterwards.
what do you mean? I don't
gonna
understand.
I'll
I
just
don't
leave it there. But
understand.
how
What
does
do you mean?
how does your body process?
1,200 calories of hot dogs.
I mean, it's way more than that.
Well, those guys that do like 180.
Oh,
or something.
120 hot dogs? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
like they've got to throw up afterwards,
I
right?
assume
Like
so.
after the camera turns off.
I mean, it's got to come out.
But there's no way. There's no way.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I mean, I think that they're kind of superhuman
Your
anyway.
body cannot process that much meat. Either way, let's see what some of the comments say about anxiety. Someone said we give them anxiety. That's
Okay.
fine.
You're welcome.
I'm scrolling through
School.
school. Very
Yeah.
good.
Being in public around people you don't know, trying to start a conversation with them that you haven't spoken to in
You know,
years. Yeah.
school's interesting because the question I was wondering is how has our anxiety changed in the last month?
That's a good.
Has
question.
there been like the way school has given you anxiety? Is that different than what you had a month ago,
Yeah.
or maybe friendship stuff or that type of stuff? Has that changed in the way your anxiety has come out? Or maybe you weren't anxious before, now you're anxious now. Or I don't
Yeah.
know. It's kind of interesting to think about what a month has brought us.
Man, this is I mean, you guys are actually the comments here.
Wow.
There's some stuff in here that I mean, those are some real factors, real anxiety inducing things that you guys have commented on there. And that is a good question. How has your anxiety changed over the last month or so? Because I think that we're all experiencing something new and different right now. And so, I mean, if you feel like you have had a huge change in what's giving you anxiety, go ahead and let us know also in the comments.
College, you got a lot of seniors with college.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Someone wrote throwing up, which I completely agree with. I hate throwing up.
I think is that the after or the effect of anxiety for some people is throwing up, or is it you're anxious about when you have to throw up?
I'm anxious about throwing up.
Yeah, I hate throwing up.
I don't do it.
I
just
hadn't
don't do
thrown
it.
up since I
Me
was like in 3rd or 4th grade, probably. Like that's just
Man.
not my body just doesn't throw up.
Next time I get a stomach
Until,
bug, I'm gonna offer you
like,
my
the last
water.
time
a
I
year
threw
and a
up.
half ago.
The last time I threw up, I busted all the blood vessels in my eyes and in my face.
You're a
But
violent.
It looked
puker,
like I
aren't
got punched in the face
Yeah.
like 5 times in a row.
You're a violent puker. I like
Yeah.
that.
And unfortunately for you, when that happened, it was because you just had eaten 8 hot dogs.
Actually, it was a buffet, but this is high school.
There's a lot of issues with buffets. A lot of reasons why you could have thrown up after eating
Oh
a
yeah,
buffet.
there's tons of reasons. Yeah, for sure.
Buffets make me kind of anxious.
So one thing that I was thinking through as we started talking about anxiety is what's the difference between anxiety and stress? Because I think that a lot of ways they overlap. Like if you drew a Venn diagram, then there would be a lot of things that are similar. But I think there are some differences too. So I think the biggest factor I have a definition for anxiety. Here's what I wrote. Anxiety is an overwhelming feeling of worry, unease, or fear. And here's the part that I think separates it from stress. And it says that hangs around and interferes with how we live our daily lives. So stress, I think, is a sense of like, it's stressing you out. Your heart rate's increased. It's something but like getting ready to eat hot dogs. I wouldn't say that eating hot dogs is interfering with our daily life. But
Well, I was also when you said anxiety, my first thought was when you're like driving down the road and there's like a police officer off in the corner, like
yeah.
and you're like, what am I doing? And you're not.
Right.
You're going. Then you're like, I'm going 50. The speed limit is 55. I'm gonna go 40. Just to make sure. Again, I think that would go in the stress category, but that's not.
But
you're not. Your whole life isn't around, am I speeding?
But if you have such a fear of police officers or getting pulled
Yeah.
over that you don't go to Walmart when you need to, or you don't get out of the house even though you need to, then I think that would qualify as anxiety. That that changes the circumstances a little bit. I think there's a little bit of difference there, and there's a lot of overlap. But the thing is, and I'm surprised actually, is a lot of the stuff that you guys have commented in, those are legitimate things that are, they're changing the way that you live and how you live out your daily life. Anxiety is a real stress, I think, for middle school and high school students.
I'm interested to know what e-learning has, what gives you anxiety for e-learning. I don't do it. I mean, I'm not in it. So
Yeah.
I've never done e-learning, so I don't know what causes that kind of anxiety with e-learning. Is it the dealing with the technology, or the way homework's done, or just like there's more responsibility in yourself because you're kind of almost your teacher and your student at the same? Am I making people anxious? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm anxious now.
Everyone's anxiety level is like crazy now. Sorry, we're supposed to relax you during the show, not.
Chris in the back has told us not to hit the table.
Sorry,
Luke's
I
over
just
here going.
I'm anxious.
Just-
Yeah, my kids are in e-learning, kindergarten and second grade, and it gives me anxiety just because I know it's a fight every single day to get them to do their work. And
Well, you're in an environment that's not supposed to be for that.
Right.
To an extent. I mean, homeschooling, even though with homeschooling, a lot of times homeschoolers still have a space that they do school at because they need to be able to have that kind of visual adjustment for things like that. So, yeah, it is.
And I think a big part of it too is you don't have a teacher sitting right in front of you that you're able to, I don't know how e-learning works, but for me, like sometimes I relied on my teachers a lot. If I'm having a hard time figuring out math, I need to be able to talk to somebody about that. And,
Adriana Pride. I just want to be with 3 people and have a teacher explain it to me.
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
And I think that the lack trying to do everything on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that most kids go to public school and learn from an educator because that's a way that most students are able to learn, especially when that's what you're used to.
Even in most homeschooling situations, you still have someone that helps you. Like you still have a parent or you have a co-op that allows you to go and once or twice a week you might go and be able to learn some extra science skills from someone who knows more of that. And I think or like if you do an online homeschooling program, a lot of times you have those digital teachers that can like a little more interactive than just like you're on a Zoom call with 30 other people.
Right.
You can't really get your conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
And I know for us, like it's complicated to teach our kids the concepts that they're learning because we're not in the classroom as parents. And so if you're a student and you're trying to like get help from your parents and they have no idea about what's going on and you can't get help from your teacher, sometimes it's harder to explain to your parents your homework and then have them help you with the answer. It's just easier to try to get your way through it.
There's a difference between what's this versus I have to then teach my parent a little bit about what I did just so that they can help me understand.
Yeah.
So moving this conversation along a little bit, I think that anxiety is a huge factor for students today. One thing I do want you guys to go ahead and, just on a scale of 1 to 10, I want to see where you guys are at or where you think most middle schoolers is. How big of a deal do you think anxiety is for middle school and high school students right now? Give me a number on a scale from 1 to 10, and I just kind of want to see where that average is. 10 being like super high anxiety, 1 being like not very much at all. So give me a number. I want to know where you guys are at on how you guys feel about that. But as those are coming in, we can look those in a second. But what I want us to do is I want to talk about, obviously anxiety is a real issue, but how do we actually deal with anxiety? And the second part of that is what does Scripture say for us, and how does that feed into what we can do to deal with anxiety? And so I wrote a few notes down and sent those to you guys to think about. But just without even looking at that, what would you guys say are some healthy ways that you personally have been able to cope with anxiety?
Watch Bob Ross.
Yeah. Okay.
Watch someone who's calm.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I know for me as a parent, as a church leader, remaining calm for everybody else, I think is really important. And I think if I'm around people who are anxious all the time, it makes me anxious too. And so the people that I surround myself with, and right now as you're quarantined, man, if your family is just like anxious all the time, and my wife and I just had a talk about that, like around e-learning. Like we're constantly anxious, we're yelling at our kids, and like we're crying, they're crying. It's kind of a bad thing, but we realize we need to have our anxiety level go down, and so that it'll help their anxiety level go down. So I think who we surround ourselves with is a huge deal with anxiety.
I think an important thing is taking time to do something that helps you either forget about it or let it kind of be off to the side. A lot of people have different hobbies and stuff, or just like you said, Bob Ross, watching Bob Ross. I know some of my students enjoy painting or drawing, things like that. For me, if you know me, I love fish tanks and keeping fish, and I have a lot. And so like I've noticed a lot more lately, I will just sit there and watch my fish. Depends on which tank I look at, but just enjoying the different interactions and stuff. And it's almost like you're watching nature. It's a way to watch nature and just kind of like see life in a simpler way. Because fish don't have to worry about quarantine or
They always are.
e-learning. It's getting away. And some people might be like video games. I don't know if that's something that you guys deal with that allows us to just get away from the life situations.
Sure.
That's one way.
Yeah. I'm just looking at these numbers here. A lot of people said like somewhere between 8, 9.
Wow.
A couple lower numbers. So
Yeah.
big deal. And so hopefully this conversation is actually helpful for you to learn some new strategies and figure out how to cope. So maybe it's
Listening to music.
Bob Ross, but I think the big idea is like finding something to separate you from whatever's giving you anxiety and something that's calming, something to take you out of that, whatever's making you anxious, something that's calming, something that really slows you down, I think is key.
Now there is one thing that I do that we're going to talk about, so it's already in the conversation, but
Okay.
praying and
Oh.
reading and things like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, so let's dive in. And one other thing. Now, part of this conversation is because, Luke, you put out a video earlier this week about the stages of grief, right?
Yeah, it's a long one because it's kind of like it was my vlog of being stressed out and sad about how everything's changed.
Okay.
But then I talked about the stages of grief and kind of like how many of us probably have gone through that in this last month.
Okay.
And maybe some of us are stuck on one. Like this last week's sadness was the sadness depression side of it was kind of where I was at.
Well, I'm not an expert on the stages of grief. I also don't know if there's 5 or if there's 7. I've heard both.
There's 5 in the in a certain model. Like it starts with a K. It's 2 people, like 2 psychiatrists that have come up with it. You have denial, which is the idea of pretending it doesn't exist or isn't happening. Then denial.
Should have written it down.
Anger is another one. And then you have. Wait, I think I missed one. Did I miss one?
You texted it to us, I think. So let me go look and see if I can find
I
it.
could just Google stages of grief.
Don't
Or you
do
can
that.
just find that video that he posted earlier. I think
It's a 30-minute video. I don't know if you wanted that.
let's just go ahead and hit play
Denial,
on
anger, bargaining. That was
There
it.
you go.
Bargaining.
bargaining.
And that's another one that I think a lot of us don't realize is bargaining is the idea of like, well, okay, so if I'm anxious or I'm frustrated or I'm dealing with this, and so therefore I'm gonna, if I do this over here, that will kind of alleviate some of this pressure and maybe it'll help me. And it's like, sometimes you get more anxious trying to bargain about something than it's really helpful. And then you get into that depression state where you're just like, life sucks, everything's terrible, go cry in a corner for 3 days.
Okay.
And then there's acceptance. And now that acceptance, we need to remember, does not have to do with denial. Acceptance is not saying it doesn't happen anymore and I'm going to forget about it. Acceptance is an understanding that it has happened or is happening, and you've learned how to cope with that and work through it.
Well, why don't we do this? There's 5 stages of grief, and it's very possible that a lot of us or the whoever's watching this is or has experienced some of these stages already, or will experience them just because of the current world situation and what we're going through.
Yeah.
So that first one, and I think what we can do is let's just talk very briefly, a few seconds about just that first one. Talk about what it is. And then what it takes to overcome that particular. Is that how the stages work? I really don't know.
I think that would. I mean, are we gonna? Do we want to talk about like in our current situation right now?
I mean, that can feed into it, but I think
Okay.
I think for me personally, I would want to be equipped just in general to be able to understand these, and so it can help me long term, not just in the present right now, but that it's a skill set that I can have for the future. So, I mean, do you want to give us like a 3-second? I mean, just a quick. What is denial, that first stage, and then I mean, we can talk about what do we think it would take to overcome that first stage.
Well, I mean, denial is the idea of avoiding reality.
Okay.
I think if you wanted to kind of wrap it all into one quick idea, it's avoiding reality. Saying that situation isn't either as big of a deal. I mean, if we want to use a more current example, you know, when the quarantine stuff started happening, people went, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's the flu, but it's not gonna stop the government. You know, we're still gonna keep moving. You know, we might just have to adjust. And then it's like every week things change, and your denial just changes with it. And then till finally reality sets in, and then that other stuff happens.
And I do want to say, just kind of stepping back from this a little bit, because you know there are people on here that their anxiety right now is low, or
Yeah.
like someone said, like I don't really experience anxiety. I never experienced anxiety until I became an adult. Like I would say true anxiety, and there was a life situation that happened that was out of my control, that happened in my family, that caused me to, or not anxiety, but grief, caused me to grieve deeply, not about myself, but about something that was happening in my family. And I didn't necessarily have these stages of grief to work through at that point. And I remember it was really difficult. So it would be helpful to actually understand these before.
Yeah,
something
it's
happens, right?
the knowledge helps you be able to go, okay, I'm here, and I know I might get to these points, but I know what I'm looking forward is to the acceptance. You know, how can I get to that ending of it all?
Yeah.
Do you think that you have to go through all 5 stages? You can skip stages?
Oh yeah, you can
Okay.
easily skip stages. I mean, think about it. I never was in denial that things are changing. You know, you might have this idea of like, I think the bargaining can come in that false hopefulness.
Okay.
Which is that the next one? Or it was before that was anger.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are angry.
I
see
think
that a
you
lot
think?
online.
it's growing.
All right,
Oh man, I think anger is like half the world's in anger right now.
I think we're restarting the cycle. I think we had all met the acceptance level, and then once this has gone on long enough, I think we're starting to go back through and say,
Yeah.
like, seriously, is this
Well, that's
still
the
going?
thing with grief is it can repeat.
It
And man, our co-children's director was in Walmart and said that she encountered a man and woman, a married couple were in Walmart, and then another man got too close to the man's wife, you know, closer than 6 feet, and the married man started chasing around this guy around Walmart, just like cursing him out, like yelling at him and stuff, and you know, because he's just so angry and anxious about what we're dealing with that he was already breaking a Walmart rule by bringing his wife in with him, though, or going in with his wife, because it's only supposed to be one family member in the store anyway. So he was mad at someone for breaking a rule, but he was breaking a rule.
I mean, I think the idea of anxiety kind of envelops a lot of our grief because anxiety quite often is the idea of like taking something beyond what it needs to be. You know, it's as a kid, it's the monster in your closet. It's not there. But there's a fear, and that fear is real. But you take that fear and you start to expound on it. You start to imagine things differently, and it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It goes from this little tiny creature to like this whole world that is living in your closet that is out to get you, and that there's nothing that can stop it. Not even your dad anymore can stop this monster, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's where that anxiety starts to inflate everything. Not saying that those things might not be real, but anxiety, I guess, is the fuel to the flame to make it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay. Well, let's shift the conversation and let's talk about ways that we can actually cope, and specifically what does Scripture say about ways that we cope. So I'm going to skip through a little bit of these because we're running a little short on time, but a couple huge ones that I want to hit. Will one of you guys look up Matthew 6, verse 25? Because the first thing that I think of when anxiety comes up, like if anytime anyone's talking about anxiety, this is the verse that immediately comes to my mind. and it's Matthew 6:25. Will you read that for us?
Yeah, I
Sean?
got you. It says, this is Jesus talking.
Sorry,
Yeah.
6:25 and following. So
Okay, just stop me when you want me to stop.
okay.
Because
Yep.
it's a while.
Sure.
Here we go. Jesus talking. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about the clothes? See the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all of these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, yep.
That's probably good.
All right.
So this verse, when I think about anxiety and worrying, this verse always is the first thing that I think of, because I love this idea that all of our worries seem so small to God, because God is caring, and that love that God has for us, because God's caring for the birds, he's caring for the flowers, God's taking care of all these things on his creation. And we stomp on flowers, and we don't care that much about the birds, this isn't something that we have any care for, but God cares for them and he takes care of them, but then we are his most prized creation. Mm-hmm. And so how much more is he going to take care of us when we need him the most? And so this verse was just, the idea here is you just give your anxieties to God, because you can trust and know that God is going to be taking care of you. Does anything else come out of this verse for you guys?
Well, I was going to say, my favorite part of this verse, and I use this paraphrase in a lot of things, is verse 27. And who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Mm-hmm. I say that a lot in home. Is like, so how is worrying going to fix the problem? Or how is worrying going to change the situation? Mm-hmm. All it's going to do is make it harder to deal with. Mm-hmm. And if we can avoid the worrying part of it, we can get to let's figure out how we can handle it, or accept that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that works easiest for smaller stuff, like the things that are, one-off situations.
Like, where am I going to get my next toilet paper fixed?
Exactly. Where are you going to eat for dinner, or like, what are you going to do tomorrow, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think it gets a little more difficult, of course. I think what anxiety plays into it is like the idea of like the daily situations. But even then, God's saying it still should not be a worry. Doesn't mean you aren't practical about it, but to worry about where you're going to get your food is not going to get your food. Mm-hmm. You worrying about it is not going to get the food. Mm-hmm. Doing something about it's going to get the food. Seeking God, seeking your church, seeking your family and your friends, that's how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Sitting there going, I don't know what's going to happen, is not going to make anything happen.
Right. So worrying about things doesn't actually solve anything, and I think that Scripture's clear on that.
Yeah.
One of my rules in youth group, on any trip that we go on, so any of my students are going to know this very well for me, but one of my main rules in life really is don't complain. I'm going to be skipping around here a little bit just because that tied into it really well. Yeah. But stop complaining, because complaining, just like worrying doesn't solve anything. Complaining doesn't solve anything either. It's all it is negative. Spreading negativity all around, and so our number one rule on every youth trip that we go to is you can't complain.
Yep.
I like don't complain unless you have a resolution to the situation.
Right.
And I wouldn't call that complaining. That would just be like, hey, this might be better.
Yeah. Just a suggestion for sure. So a couple of verses that come to mind when I think about complaining. Will you look up Romans 12, verse 2? And Luke, will you look up Philippians 4, verse 8?
I'm already there.
Wow, you're so fast.
Well, I actually looked up 4:13. You just happened to be in 4:8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're making me question why I put 8.
Okay. Romans 12:2?
Yeah.
All right. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
So I put this verse down because that renewing of your mind, I think, is something that's really key here.
Yeah.
When we think in a current world crisis or any kind of anxiety, the world is going to act one way, and as followers of Christ, we have the freedom to choose to act in a different way and to think through in a different way. And so while the world around you might feel like it's crumbling and be focused on all this negativity and worry and complaining, we can choose to have our minds transformed and to focus instead on the good things.
The word renewing is the same word that you would use for like renovating, which is really interesting because I think a lot of us are renovating right now, like in our houses and things like that.
Sure.
And when you think about renovating, it makes you, you're taking something that's already there and improving on it. But it takes someone to do that. And so who are you allowing to renew your mind? Is it you or is it God? Who's your contractor in that situation?
Right.
Because you want the best. Well, Jesus was a carpenter, so he was a contractor. You want the best contractor to build your house. And if you were the temple and you were the house, you want Jesus to be doing the building. Because he's the best at it.
Sure. So read that Philippians 4:8 verse for me.
4:8. Just that verse.
I think so.
Finally, brethren and sistren, I guess, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there is anything of excellence, if anything worthy of praise, dwell and think on these things.
Right. So this is the opposite of complaining, because when you're complaining, you're thinking negative thoughts, you're speaking negative words, you're focusing on something that you don't like. Whether it be, like one of the things that bothers me when people complain about it is the weather. But you can't do anything about the weather. Like, oh, it's hot, it's cold, all these different things. Stop complaining about it and just put on a jacket, because you can't control anything about it. And complaining does nothing except you're dwelling on things that you don't like and you're dwelling on negativity. And it's not good for anyone around you because they don't want to hear you complain. And it's not good for yourself because that's just focusing on bad thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, complaining can cause anxiety for the people who oversee what's going on.
It really does spread.
And I think you're like you said, you didn't really understand the stages of grief. Like, I didn't understand the issues of complaining until I became in charge of people who were complaining. And to go like...
Youth never complain about anything,
No,
right?
never.
No, students never do.
All my students are amazing.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my phone.
You're amazing.
But yeah, it's this idea. It's like when you realize when you have 15 people in a room, you have 15 different opinions. And they'll have a different idea on how things should be done. It's not going to happen. And so complaining about it, being frustrated over it is not going to make it different. What you can do is you can enjoy what's going on at that point and enjoy the parts that maybe you like the most and be fine with the things that you're like, eh.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like with worship at church. A lot of times people are like, well, I didn't like the music today. It's like, you didn't like any song at all? None of the music today? You didn't like any? Well, I like that song. Well, then you should enjoy that song and appreciate that other people are enjoying the other songs that maybe you don't like.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that's the idea of the Philippians 4:8. What is honorable, respecting people around you, honoring people around you, that should give you the joy and love is to look at other people and how they're enjoying the different things.
Yeah, and it's also changing your mind and what you're thinking about to focus on things that are good, things that are going to bring you joy, things that are going to take away your anxiety, things that make you happy and help you resonate with that love of God that He has for us. When you focus on that instead of whatever bad things are going on in your life, then you can really renew your mind.
I'm going to highlight a student. I'm not going to say their name, but I know who it is. I was blown away with is after this quarantine, after a couple weeks of this quarantine going on, I get a call from their parents of this student who had collected clothing from their home to donate to other student in our ministry who was in need of something like that. And my thought was like, so a student who is dealing with a bunch of school stuff, this quarantine stuff, decides, hey, I'm going to go through my wardrobe and take things that either I don't necessarily wear all the time or maybe I'm like, I really like this, but I just don't use it or anything. Or maybe I like this stuff and I think they'd enjoy it even more. And they, pile up all this stuff and they say, I want to give it to somebody. It's like in a time of crisis, you want to help somebody in your mind. That is thinking on those honorable things. And it's pretty cool to see things like that. And I think we see that poking through, all the midst of the noise and the frustrations. If you want to watch a YouTube channel that kind of focuses on that,
I know where you're going.
Some Good News.
Some good news.
Yeah.
Hey, The Office.
Krasinski.
Hey, The Office. People
Yeah,
love The
yeah,
Office,
John
man.
Krasinski.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
It's so wonderful because he does not focus on any of the negative. He is
Yeah.
how are people being
All
awesome?
positive.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning, surrounding yourself with those people that are bringing good news. I had one of my best friends went through the most tragic thing you could ever imagine with a stillborn child at 39 weeks, and he was a pastor, and really, it's hard for him to see God's goodness in that. And of course, he was full of anxiety and anger and depression. And he said in those moments, though, he had to surround himself with people who were seeing God's blessing and did have testimonies of praise. Because if he didn't have that, if he didn't have other people speaking truth into his life, it would be really easy to become all consumed with the saying God is still working, and maybe I don't feel it right now, but He is. So I think just being surrounded by people who do bring that news is a really good thing.
So while we're in Philippians, CJ, you made a comment about Philippians 6 and 7, 4, 6, and 7. Really, Philippians, I gotta say, probably the best book in the Bible to dealing with anxiety, dealing with finding joy in your current situation.
Yeah.
Just read all of Philippians because that's the most uplifting book in the entire Bible, in my opinion. Maybe comparable to the Psalms. There's a lot of uplifting stuff in the Psalms.
High school week did it last year, Philippians. We went through all Philippians. We read
Okay.
it so many times, and the theme behind that was staying firm.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of standing firm in God.
Yep.
Yeah.
So while we're in Philippians, go ahead and read Philippians 4:13 for me because I think that also speaks a lot into what we're talking about.
I can do all things through Him, which is Jesus, who strengthens me.
Yeah. So this is one of the most misused verses in
Yes.
Scripture, right?
I can climb the mountain.
Yeah. This
I
verse
can
is
win the
basically-
race. I can make the millions.
Yeah, it's the protein powder of the Bible, right? You drink that verse up and you think that you can squat 900 pounds or whatever. Because I can do all things. And you know what? I think that that's true. I think that if it was God's will for you to squat 1 billion pounds, then, that would be his, that's his will. He would make it happen.
Yeah.
But that's also not at all what Paul's talking about here. Norm, where's Paul right now? Tell us a little bit of the situation. What's going on?
So Paul is in prison, and if you know anything about ancient prisons, it's basically a hole in the ground with a cage over the top of it, and they don't clean up after you.
Saying the way you got stuff was people usually brought you things.
They brought you things.
Depended on other people to bring you things.
And you also depended on other people to clean up your mess. I mean, you're in this little cell, basically a little cave or hole, and no guards came in and cleaned up after you. Obviously, there's things, bodily functions, happening, and it's just all sitting there in the cell. And so you had the only way that you got cleaned up, and really the only way that you got fed and clothed, is other people came and helped you in that moment, in that situation. And so Paul is in this dungeon, just the most depressing place you can imagine in the world, being persecuted for his testimony of Christ, and wrongly accused of stuff, just sitting in prison and saying, hey, you can find joy in any situation in your life.
That's a bold statement coming from that certain circumstance that he's in. But I think it's also a really powerful one because what this verse is actually talking about isn't, it's not lifting weights or climbing mountains. It's finding joy. It's finding contentment no matter where you are.
Through Him who strengthens me.
Right.
Okay, so you find I can do all things through Jesus. All things that Jesus is calling me to do.
Yeah.
Not all things that I want to do and making Jesus fly me there. I don't know what the concept is behind that. It's what is the will that God is having in your life and utilizing that.
Yeah.
And so Paul's saying part of what Jesus' will is for him to find contentment and find joy in his current situation. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's probably a calling that he would, push onto all of the believers of Christ when we're feeling anxious and stressed and down about whatever. we can find contentment and know that Christ has our back. You know, if we depend on these other things that we've talked about, giving our anxieties to God and focusing on good things, when we talk through those kind of situations, we know that Christ has actually called us to do those things, and because of that, He's got our backs. And we can find joy and contentment no matter what our circumstances, even if we are locked in our house with 25 siblings that are all screaming and yelling, and we have to try to figure out how to do e-learning at the same time that the dog is peeing on the couch or whatever's happening. You know, we can find joy and contentment in those situations on top of that. I got one more thing here, and this is I don't even have any verses to go along with this, but this is a huge thing for me that I've really started to wrap my head around just in the past year and a half maybe, and it comes back to just this 4 words, and it's control what you can. And I think right now more than ever is a time that I've really had to focus and lean in on that, because there's a lot of things that are out of my control. And this is kind of full circle from what we talked about at the beginning of this is, you know, there's a lot of things that are out of our control, but there are some things that we can control. So we can't control whether the governor of Indiana allows us to meet together in church. You know, we can't control how much toilet paper is on the shelves. We can't control the things that other people are saying. We can't control what other people in our house are saying or doing or whatever it may be, but we can control our anger. We can control how we spend our time alone with Jesus. You know, what are some other things that we can control right now?
We can control our thoughts.
Yeah.
And so often we have this, well, you made me do that or say that or think that. And it's like, no, you made you do that. I mean, there are people that push your buttons, but you still are the one that is going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a pastor I heard once, and he had 2 cups full of marbles, and he said when you get in a fight or an argument or something, it's like your cups clash. And he said, well, you made me spill out all my marbles, but those things were already in you. They didn't put in, and he compared marbles as in like anger or nasty language, whatever it is. No one made you have those thoughts, those marbles. They might have pushed a button, but that was already inside of you, and it just happened to slip out.
I saw just this past week, I saw almost the exact same illustration. Mark DeFazio, or Michael DeFazio, my bad. He said, if you have a can of soda and you shake it up as hard as you can, and then you crack it open, it's going to explode everywhere. And you could say that you made it explode or that the contents of the can exploded, but the truth is the recipe for that was already in there, and all you did was open it and it exploded. But if you have a bottle of water and you do the same thing and you shake up the bottle of water and you open the cap, nothing's going to happen. And the difference isn't what you did to what it is, it's what's already on the inside. And so if what's inside of you is pure and clean and focused and meditating on God, then that's what's going to come out of it as well. But if your focus is instead, I mean, if you've got this negativity, this complaining, and all these other things going on, you know, then you're going to have that explosion.
Yeah, I like listening to music a lot, and my personal preference is I stick specifically with Christian music, or at least highly positive music, which in these days is mostly Christian music. But one of the things that I realize is the more I listen to that, when things start to happen, usually a song relating to that pops into my head that focuses on that. And it's like, I wouldn't have that if I wasn't listening to that day in and day out and it being on the forefront. It's just the same idea of Jesus saying, or God said in the Old Testament, is like having the scriptures on your forehead. And, you know, Jews took that a little overtly literally, but the idea is having that scripture that's in your mind and in your heart day in and day out, so that when something happens, you got it. It's there's an answer, and it only works when you're putting that in you. You know, garbage in, garbage out, that whole saying applies. It's a simple saying, and maybe overused for some people, but it's true. Yeah. What you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, Jesus said, out of the overflow of your heart, the mouth speaks. So whatever you're putting into your heart is what is going to come out.
That's good.
Just like the hot dogs we're about to put in.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All right. I thought we're actually out of time. We're out of time now. Oh man, thank God.
We're out of time.
Now my phone is sanitized.
You're welcome. Speaking of garbage in, I think it's about that time that we move on to our Chubby Olympics. Real quick, just want to recap everything we talked about today. We gave you a few different tips on how to help you handle anxiety in this time, and so we've got
Now, if you're having audio issues, don't worry, because we're gonna eat hot dogs, and you don't
that's
necessarily need to hear that.
So anxiety, though, give it to God is a good one. A couple verses to look at: Psalm 56:3,
Yeah.
Matt 6:25, Matthew 6:25, and
All of
following.
Philippians.
All of the book of Philippians, very good. We talked about finding contentment. That's a big thing in Philippians. We talked about controlling what you can and letting go of the things that you can't, or acknowledging and finding solutions to the things you can't. And we just said stop complaining and focus on good thoughts instead. So those are a few things that maybe you guys can do. What I do want you to do, send in videos. I'm gonna post it right after we get done here. But what are you doing to handle anxiety? What are some different tips that you have that you might want to share with other people around you? So what are you doing? Send us a video of that, and maybe we'll play it next week. And keep sending in. There's lots of questions on there now.
They could be funny, or they can be like,
Yeah.
here's a painting I did because
Yeah.
it helps with anxiety.
Yeah.
I'll probably give you a tour of my fish room.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
I look
something
forward
like
to
that.
it.
I know some of my students have been wanting to know how their fish are doing. This all combined.
I'll give you a lesson on NBA 2K20 because I like to go into
All
the
right.
park and beat down people on threes. So if anyone's got Xbox,
I get the cold ones. Oh, they're still warm.
are they still warm?
They are.
If anyone's on Xbox,
Luke,
you
do
want
you name
to
your
play
fish?
some NBA 20?
No, my son does. He has one that's named Squishy.
Okay.
One that's named Poof.
Okay. Will you name one after me though?
Preston?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of fish do you want to... I have this huge cichlid. It's about this big.
Can I be me?
You can name him Preston.
Yes.
Can you name one?
actually got a photo of him. I can show you afterwards.
Can you name one after my middle name?
What's that?
Eugene.
Oh, yeah.
Could you please have a Eugene?
Oh, yeah. I will find a Eugene.
Okay. It's
I
got to
got
be the
one.
nerdiest looking one.
No, I got
Like,
one. It's the
dude.
one that no one likes. That is...
All right. So here's how
Okay,
this
so
is
this
gonna
is
work.
the
You guys need to go ahead and place your bets. Who do you think is gonna be able to eat more hot dogs in 60 seconds? We're gonna have 60 seconds.
Or who's going to complete the task first?
Or who's gonna complete the task first? Oh yeah. So
These
put your
smell
votes
so
in now. As
disgusting.
soon as we start,
These are
we're gonna
dollar
be looking
store
at the
hot
time
dogs.
frames.
Hey,
I don't know if they're real
They're
meat.
acreage. They're acreage. They're not real meat. But they're acreage at least. So they're high dollar, not real meat.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So go ahead and I'll give you a few more seconds to go ahead and do that. We don't have buns. I can't remember who said that. CJ.
Oh, we got some Lukes, man. Luke.
Yeah.
Oh man, everyone's on Luke. The plate is soggy.
It's
Oh,
gross.
so
It's
wet.
gross. A couple rules for you guys, real quick. You can only eat one hot dog at a time, so
Oh,
you can't
man.
just grab them all
Okay.
because otherwise it'd be really hard to figure out.
Oh yeah, true.
At the end of the 60 seconds, I'm gonna say you have an extra, like, if you have stuff already in your mouth,
Yeah.
you've got like 3 seconds to get it down. But if it takes you longer than that, then you're
I'm
gonna have to
getting nervous now.
spit it back out.
Do we have a trash nearby? Because
Nope.
that's
We should probably
okay.
get one.
Okay.
There's
There's a backpack there. I'll just throw up in the
No,
backpack.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna wait on our trash can here just real quick. There's one on the
Well, it
stage.
gives you time to put in your names.
Yep.
I think after maybe I'll throw in a comment to know where the
Yep.
cutoff
Yep.
is.
So we're gonna say you have less than a minute from right now. So go ahead and put your votes in.
And
Honestly, I feel like it's a normal Luke battle right here. No one has any.
no one thinks Preston can do this, man.
Benton voted for me, but here's the thing: I also don't have confidence in myself.
I don't have
Nora doesn't have
myself.
confidence in himself.
Well, so here's the deal. Like right before you throw up, this is my anxiety. How you start sweating and getting
Yeah.
all like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. I'm doing that right now. I haven't even started eating these things yet. So
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a comment in here and say
voting over.
I can't.
Final vote, Luke. You've said that like 8 times. Anna.
Voting. And
Just
here,
want to make sure.
I'm gonna send this in. Well, by the time you get send. Okay, voting ends here.
Oh, this is so disgusting.
All right,
All right.
I'm excited. Get a good whiff in. All right, as soon as
Is that
the-
whet your appetite right there? The
as
fake meat.
oh yeah, I need mustard for this. As soon as the countdown starts, that's our beginning. So
I'm
Nate's
glad that
gonna be-
CJ has some faith in me because
You
Whenever
voted
Nate hits the
afterwards, so
video-
it doesn't count, CJ.
All right, do we do like hands on the
Oh,
table?
hands on the
Okay.
table.
Okay.
No banging the table.
Sorry. What?
Go. Look on the ground. Okay, swallow.
Can we use water?
No,
Oh, come
I
on.
don't have any water.
Oh god.
Holy cow, Luke.
Oh god.
I'm just gonna enjoy this because I'm not winning.
Wait,
Is that zero? Oh.
Man, it's gonna take you forever. That hurt so bad. Oh. You might need to sanitize the table.
Oh my gosh.
You guys did not help Chris and Nate.
No.
Oh, okay. It's so salty.
Oh my gosh.
So let's see, that's 3 hot dogs left. You had 3, but I swallowed
You
first.
swallowed first.
How many calories are we taking?
What is it? 150.
150
each?
a hot dog, so that's 5
So
hot
750 calories.
dogs. That's,
I'm more concerned about the sodium content.
I
man.
know. It is so salty.
I couldn't even eat from like 45 seconds on because I was just watching Chris and Nate. I only ate like 2.5 or 1.5. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't do it.
That's
Oh
it.
my gosh.
That's all of Norm's.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys are bad.
The only reason I kept going was Preston and I were staying up on each other.
You guys were.
We were.
I really awful. Like, second hot dog in, I was like, no.
Wait, did you
I'm
both
done.
get 3 or only,
We
5?
both ate 5. Yeah.
But I guess I swallowed first.
Yeah. He finished
Goodness.
his.
That hurt. That
Just-
swallow. You
I
ever have
did.
those hard
No, I
swallows
did,
that are
yeah.
just like packed down?
I'm pretty sure that was a bad idea, and I only ate 1.5. So
Oh,
I'm not eating anymore.
I don't feel very good. But Luke won that one. So if you voted, oh god.
All right, now we're going to run a mile.
So if you voted for if you voted for Luke before we put that comment in, then you're gonna get entry into a prize. We're gonna be giving away a huge prize.
Yeah.
No. This is we're giving away a huge prize.
Yeah.
11 hot dogs are already
Lifetime supply of dollar hot dogs.
In several weeks from now, probably whenever this whole thing is over, or I don't know how long this is going to go on, but I know that every time you get it right, you get another entry into
Do we want
prize.
suggestions for the
winning
prize?
a massive prize. Yeah, give us a suggestion, but we were thinking something along the lines of maybe like AirPods or maybe I don't know.
I mean, it could be something similar. Like I personally probably wouldn't want the AirPods, but I would want like Bose or something that's similar.
Yeah,
in-
a nice pair of headphones.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there's something else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give us some
yeah,
suggestions
yeah.
what you think that was like. But we want to give away a huge prize for this, so make sure that you are commenting and you're watching the video every week. Share this with your friends. Thank you to Nate and Chris for hanging out in the back
and for laughing the
running
entire
for
time,
everything.
so I couldn't eat any hot dogs.
Thank you, Luke. Thank
Oh,
you,
my
Lauren.
mom just said she's so proud of me. Thank you, Mom. I am sure this is the pinnacle of your moment as a mother. I'd like to just
Proud moment.
acceptance
yeah, for
speech
sure.
and I hold my hot dog.
Yeah.
You get it like a Dude Perfect. They spray paint all their trophies in
yeah.
gold.
Yeah.
Oh.
You get a
So
golden
this,
hot
you get
dog.
a golden hot dog as your trophy.
Why don't we do that?
Gosh, I feel
like-
terrible. That's time to get off. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Norm. What? Oh, you're right.
Oh, right. The
Man, I
winner
was
for this
about to-
episode.
Oh yeah, we need to
Yes.
spin
Okay.
it.
So if you guys did leave a comment, then you got entered into winning another prize.
Uh-oh.
and hit that preview button.
You'll
in the
just have
top
to
right.
trust us.
And remember, add the videos so that you can get an extra entry next week.
Yes, and yeah, that's right. So everyone who commented got an entry into this. If you if you send us a video, then
On
you'll get
Flipgrid?
an additional comment or additional entry next week. We got to end this quick.
Here it goes.
All right, so let's go ahead and spin.
Ooh, fancy.
All right, let's find out who's winning this time. It's
Lane
the
the
Bread
Bread
Lord.
Lord.
First time I read that, I thought it said Beard Lord, and I thought, no, I think
That's
that's
I
good.
think that's Preston. Right?
Is that you or is that
CJ.
Is that
maybe?
CJ? Is that...
Well,
He's not here, so it's Preston.
CJ's not here.
No, I'm not talking about the beard. I'm just talking about whose student.
Oh, who's
Oh,
student? Yeah, where are you from, Lane?
Yeah, Lane, let me know. I feel like that's the Lane that comes to my ministry, but I need to know for sure.
But I don't think your last name is Bread Lord, so.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them are just like indigestion like crazy right
My
now.
wife's gonna love it when I get home.
So,
She's gonna make you wash your mouth with sanitizer.
so Lane, the Bread Lord, we're gonna be reaching out to you to get you a prize, and make sure that you send something in next week. Let me ask my parents which ministry you go to. Yes, please do that. Let us know. All right, so that's my Lane
Schneider.
Yeah, he comes to our youth group. So I will be getting you, Lane, a gift card.
$1.68, right? Is that what we said?
So
Or a pack of gum.
I might
Or
just give you leftover hot dogs. We'll see what you
11 and
Either way.
a little bit.
Either way,
Little nub.
I needed to
A
leave a
little.
few minutes ago because I feel
little.
like garbage. So, thank you, Luke.
Gross.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be